Hey YouTube, how's it going? Welcome to part 13 of our multiplayer game with Node.js series. Today we're going to be going over AI. Now when I was initially planning this out, it was going to be one video, but I actually found I'm going to probably split it into about 3 videos. So I'm going to try and get about 2 out this weekend, this video and one more. And then next weekend might be the last part if I run out of time. After that, then we'll be getting into database stuff, and we'll come back and do some other things after that as well. Okay, so this is a lot of server-side stuff. We already have the client kind of already built out, so we just kind of need to build the enemy prefab. Yeah, we'll start with that. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to open up our server.js class here. And while we're here, actually, we're gonna do a bug fix. So this part here, right here, I put in as a late addition to last tutorial, which was removing. It would to close the lobby. So I just saw that now as I opened up. We're actually just going to check if the server index is not 0 and not actually the value. Otherwise, that would actually always come back as true. So let's go ahead and make that change to 64 on server here. But what I really wanted to do was go down to the game lobby settings. I'm just going to set it for testing. I'm going to set it back to 1. You might already have it set to 1. It's up to you. You can close that after you're done. Okay, so in order to do some AI, we're going to do some nice cleanup stuff here. So if you want to go underneath your classes and create a folder, we'll call this AI. And inside this folder, we'll create a file. Call this AIBase.js. Beautiful. And the last thing we're going to do is go under utility, create a file. We're going to call this server item. So anything that really the server controls, the server spawns, is going to be a server item. So that could be things including health packs or weapon pickups or anything. And our AI base is also going to come off of that as well. So first thing we need is short ID. So we're going to grab short ID. This is just the library that we brought in, right? So I can just type in short ID. We're also going to need the vector2 class here. That's going to be back a folder and then vector2 in. And really, we should move vector2. Okay, so after we added vector2 here, we're going to do our classic module exports class. Call this server item. Give it a constructor, and we're going to add base things that are very similar to the player. So we're going to say username. Call this server item. We'll grab the ID. And then the position, which could be vector2. So the idea here is that like health packs and weapon pickups or anything AI, normally when it's spawning, kind of needs these 3 things. It needs a name to be referenced, so it knows what prefab when the client's spawning. It needs an ID here, just like any networked object. It needs that unique character ID that we can just reference to it, and then a position in world space here. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna go into AI base here, and we'll set up AI base. So let's bring in server item. So I'll be require. This is going to be back a folder as well under the utility. And it's going to be server item. Module exports equal to class AI base. We're going to extend server item. Cool. Constructor. We're going to make sure we call this super. Again, that calls server items constructor, so it sets these 3 things up. And then we're just going to override username, and we'll call this one AI base. So yeah, if you guys are making like a dungeon crawler, for example, you guys would still create your AI base and then base things off of that. So there's gonna be a lot of things like getting a target, getting that sort of stuff, things that just like all AIs do. And that's going to live in the base, and then specific things, whether it's changing stats or maybe how they attack or maybe how they move, they can't move diagonal, maybe different things like that, that's going to be in the individual class for that. For now, we're just going to use AI base. Like I said, we're in a mini part version of this AI stuff. We might do the extending to a different one, but most likely we'll just work in the AI base for this tutorial. Like I said, if you're working on a dungeon crawler, you might have goblin and come off of AI base. You might have chicken come off AI base, that sort of stuff. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add an update function. So I'm just going to write this and then we'll explain it. So the update is, this is going to be handled per lobby. When the lobby gets its update function, it's going to call any AI that's currently in the game. It's going to call its update, so it's about every 100 milliseconds. The on update position is actually going to be a function that we pass in, and this is going to be used in the next little mini parts, and not this one, but basically you can just jot down this note that we're going to calculate like the state machine. So this would do everything from getting a target, maybe he has to swing, maybe there's a casting ability, maybe the tank has to shoot, like maybe the tank actually wants to prioritize finding cover or going to get a health pack, right? Just typical AI game related stuff, and we'll go from there. So this class will get filled out with a lot more. Like the next mini part, we're going to do the damage and the bullets, so you'll see a lot more stuff here for that sort of thing. Okay, so a lot of stuff can be kind of generic, so I'm actually going to open up lobby base. So when we go to spawn or update AI, similar to how we have all the connections in the lobby base, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to assume in this case all the different lobbies have an option to have AI, right? So if we just kind of have everything inside the lobby base, then it works out that way. So we're actually going to store all the AI inside an array. This array will be used for things like pickups and stuff, and it's all just labeled server items. So you get the idea is that I'm actually going to be storing anything that basically inherits off server item inside this array. And when I go to update, I'm actually going to be filtering to only update the AI, because like a health pack doesn't need to be updated. If it spins or whatever, the client just does that. Cool. And so actually speaking of that, we're actually in the update. So this is currently getting called, like I said, about every 100 milliseconds. We're going to say this lobby. I like to grab reference to server items. Beautiful. And we're going to do a filter. So we're going to grab all the AI out of server items. For right now, the only thing inside server items is AI, but like I said, you can have health pack stuff in here. We're going to be using a filter on it. It's going to be item, and we're going to be return item instance of AI base. So it doesn't know what AI base is now, but basically what it's saying is filter out if the item is an instance of AI base. So that could be chicken, that could be goblin, that could just be AI base itself. I'm going to return it as part of this array return. And the first thing we're going to do actually is bring in server item. Down to utility, bring in server item there. We will bring in vector2 as well because we don't have it. One of the things I like to do is when I spawn things, I like to add its positional coordinates at that point in time as well. So that's why we'll need vector2. And it's always just really good to have. Like, it's just like a good class. And then you want the AI base as well. That's going to be under AI / AI base. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this list is going to go through server items. It's only going to pull out things that are AI based. Super handy function. And then we're going to say AI list dot for each. Call this AI that's going to be passed in. And then we're going to update each AI unity passing in a function for those that need to. We're going to pass in a function for things that need to update other connections. Sure. Basically, we're going to just go through the AI and we're going to pass it a function that's going to handle the updating position for us for now. Like I said, we're going to be using it in different little parts, but I found that instead of the AI base having this and having the pass-in connections, it's just much easier to pass in a function call that would bring everything back, basically a step. So we're going to say on updates, and then we're actually going to pass in a function that's going to give us a thing called data, which is actually going to be a return. So this looks a little weird. Basically, as a parameter to this function, we're going to pass in another function that it can call. We're going to say lobby.connections for each connection. And then it's going to loop through all the connections in the lobby. It's going to grab the socket for each one. And it's going to broadcast that connection. We're going to broadcast the update position here. Beautiful. I don't know why I said broadcast, because if you were to broadcast, you'd basically be, if you had 100 connections, you would 100 sending another 100 out. Like, it would go crazy. For now, we're just going to emit to each connection in the lobby. Like I said, there's a way to optimize this. You could just do one big broadcast call. It's just much easier for myself to do it this way right now. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna add a thing that when we serve server spawn and server despawn. So right now we have connections for like when you enter the lobby, when you leave the lobby, it kind of does like all this ID changing, just some background stuff that like all lobbies are gonna do. We're gonna have a generic function that spawns any server item in the game, including AI. So we're going to say on server spawn. I'm going to call this item, just like I just said. This could be a health pack. This could be AI. It could be anything. And then I also like just taking in its position right here, and then doing the like the assigning inside here, rather than creating an object and having to assign the vector and stuff, and then throwing that through the function. It'll look nicer in the main lobby, and I can just do all the gritty work in here, sort of thing. The other thing we're gonna need is server unspawn. This only needs an item, so we know which one to delete. And then I like to keep the deletion its own little function, just to kind of keep everything nice and neat. Beautiful. So let's start with server spawning here. So we're going to get reference to the lobby. So the idea is that it's going to pass us in a new AI, which is going to be of the base type server item. We're going to spawn it. We're going to push it into the array. and then tell everybody about it so they can spawn it. So let's grab server items. And let's grab connections. And the first thing we'll do is we will set the position of the thing. So we're going to say item.position is equal to location. Beautiful. And we're going to set item into the array. And we're going to say server items dot push item. Then we're going to tell everyone in the room about me. So we'll say connections dot for each. And now we're going to say connection dot emit. Sorry, dot socket dot emit. Server spawn. So if you're like, hey, I've seen server spawn before, we actually use it to spawn the bullets, which is super handy. And this is a lowercase s, by the way. And so that's why I meant, like, the client already has like a lot of the work done for us. We're just going to utilize the same function. So it requires an ID, which is item.id. It requires a name, which is item.username, and a position, which is item.position.json data. And you're like, what the hell is JSON data? And you know what? We're going to pause right there. We're going to open up vector2, and we're going to make JSON data. So I found, at least with the vector2 class and some other ones, if I didn't have like a specific output that made it nice inside of like this object, you kind of send too much. Sometimes it wouldn't work. So I just kind of create all these like JSON data return sort of things. So this is just simply a return that returns X, Y, and that's all it does. And what it allows me to do is anything on a vector2, I can guarantee that it'll work inside the connection as a nice neat line by just saying data.json, or sorry, position.json data, or vector2.json data. And then it works all nice and handy dandy for us. Cool. So we did the server spawning, we set the location, we put it into the array, which we defined at the top, and then we tell everybody about the connection. Okay. This isn't getting called. This will get called inside of game lobby, and we'll do that in a minute. Let's handle unspawning, or despawning in this case. So we'll get the handle of the lobby, and this is kind of like any time I do like these sort of networking issues, just kind of break it down like similar to what I did, where it's very much like, okay, I want to add AI. Kind of what's similar between AI and some other things? Oh, you know what? The server controls them, so I need some sort of kind of base that the server knows about that will work, and we can kind of store in all one location for memory purposes, and that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, well, if I have a generic spawner and despawner on the client and server, then I can just do that all for free, sort of thing. So definitely planning to a extent. Like when I originally did like the spawning of bullets, like I probably would have done it a certain way and then ended up changing it to this method when I realized so much things change. I'm not saying you have to go write out all your different systems right now, but definitely like when you come across a system and you realize you can kind of like refactor and everything can kind of work off the same thing, then, you know, maybe take that opportunity to do that. Okay, so getting a little ahead of myself when I'm not talking. So we need to remove the lobby from remove the item from the game. So, or from the array here. That's gonna be the function below us. And like I said, yeah, you're gonna see this is gonna be like 8 lines, which kind of suck. But it's like, oh, one nice neat line to remove from the array. So, and then we're gonna tell everyone in the room. So I'm actually just going to copy this function. And when you copy this function, if you go back to our client, we actually only need the ID. So there's no need for the other stuff. So we're just going to pass the ID here, and we're going to swap this to unspawn. Cool. We're going to save that. And what we are going to do is do this. So this is because we're just kind of pushing the array, we can kind of do a typical splicing method. Okay, so yeah, we've typically done this this sort of stuff before, so it's nothing going to be really new. We're just going to grab the lobby here. A lot of times I find like most of my functions, instead of saying this all the time, I will put it to lobby, because sometimes when you get into these inner functions, this representation isn't the same, which is why you see me store it so much. We're going to need server items here. And we actually don't even need server items up here, surprisingly, so we can actually just remove that. That's what the darker gray was telling us there. But we do need is we need an index. We're going to say server items, index of item. So this is going to return us a number. For the index number, if it doesn't exist, remove our item out of the array. If it doesn't exist, it's going to come back as -1. So basically, if it's greater than -1, 0, or whatever, then it's actually in the array. And then we can say splice at the index, and just remove one thing, which is the one that we want to remove. Okay, cool. Wow, for how much that was, we're almost done here, guys. You know what? I guess when I'm planning it out and I'm like sitting here and I'm like, this is like a lot to go over, and then like when you're actually doing it, you're like blah 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 blah, super fast. So let's go ahead. We'll open up game lobby here, and we have to start updating some things. So the first thing we want to update is let's just bring in the certain things that we're going to need. We're going to say let vector2, right? Because we're going to need to know how to make vector2s in order to make the new AI. The next thing is the server item. And then we'll do AI base here. Boop. AI base, beautiful. Okay, so right now, currently this is getting updated, but we're actually never calling our base because we really didn't have anything in our base to get updated. So we are going to have to call super.onUpdate. Make sure you call the base function version so it updates. Next thing we're going to do is scroll down here, and after we spawn all players in the game, we're going to go in here and do onspawn all. We're going to onspawn AI into game. It doesn't say all, but it's like, it doesn't really matter if it's all, it's just going to be all every time. So yeah, so we're just going to spawn AI into the game here. You're going to scroll down a bit, down into this sort of function here, and put it right above here. Right, because they're getting called one after another. Say let lobby, signal to this. Lobby dot on server spawn. So that's our base class here. We're actually going to say new AI base, and then it requires a location, which we'll just put at 0, 0 for now. This can be a spawn point of where you want it to spawn. Cool. So now what we just did, if you weren't really paying attention, you're kind of just like, oh, I got to put it at 51. What we did was basically once we've transitioned out of game lobby into the game, we spawn all players in the game, we spawn all AI into the game. We don't really do any checks right now, just because I'm kind of just like showing you how to do it. So we're always going to spawn AI in the game, but eventually you might want to be like, oh, you know what, the lobby is set to 1. Maybe I should spawn AI. Instead of just always spawning it every time. But yeah, so and then it comes down here, and then we call our base function for on server spawn, and we pass it in AI base. Like I said, this could be chicken, goblin, AI base. This could be health pack. Does not matter. It's just looking for a server item as well as position. Cool. Last thing, we need to unspawn stuff. So we're gonna go on unspawn all AI in game. This is gonna take in a connection here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna say let lobby equal to this, let server items equal to lobby dot server items, right? That's grabbing it from the base class. And then we remove all server items from the client, but still leave them in the server for others. So let's talk about this for a minute. So let's assume that we have more than one player in the game. We'll use the dungeon crawler as an example. Perhaps we have a ton of loot on the ground, a ton of AI in the game. Someone leaves the dungeon, but other people are in there. So the idea here is that you're only removing the assets on the client that left. The reason why we're doing that is to kind of clean up the client, right? Because if you see everything in their online container or server container or whatever you called it, and it has stuff from previous scenes, that's a big baddie. So this is going to remove all those, have a nice cleanup, just for the client that's disconnecting. If the server somehow gets closed down because everybody left the game, well, that's fine. It's already closing down its own thing. You don't have to worry about it, right? Because it's all the classes are contained inside game lobby. So we just have to clean up people that leave. So server items dot for each server item. We're going to say connection dot socket dot emit server unspawn. And like I said, this isn't a new function. This is an event that we used for the bullets already. It takes in an ID. And we're going to say server item dot ID. And you're like, hey, yo, like we were already calling this in the base class, but this is for just that one connection. This isn't for actually removing the one item out of the game. If we went into here and did like the server unspawn, it would do it for all connections and would remove it from the game. So slightly a little different here. Cool. And the last thing we need to do is actually call this function, which we're going to do in the unleave lobby. We have these notes here. We're going to finally use them. We're going to call the on unspawn all in game and pass in the connections. So just like normal leaving the lobby, we are now going to unspawn everything for them. Like I said, a good example is when you go into a dungeon room and then you're leaving, you want to unspawn all the AI, all the loot, all that jazz, and all that fun. So that is about it for the server here. So I wasn't even starting it right now. Like if you use the nodemon, by the way, you can just start it and have it keep going. I imagine at this point in the tutorial, part 13, you probably already know that. So I'm going to open up the client here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a prefab. So I'm using 2018.3. If you're using anything newer than me or mine, you are fine. You can follow this next step. If you're not using 2018, just duplicate the prefab and then follow my steps. So I'm going to go to the player prefab. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do create. Where are you? Prefab variant. I'm going to call this enemy _ AI. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a prefab variant of player, meaning that it's going to contain everything inside player with the changes that I'm going to do. And then what this does is, like, if I went in and changed the color or whatever to player prefab, it would update it for the enemy. Because I'm not going to change the color right now. But basically, like, if we share something that I'm not removing or changing, it'll update across all of them, which is super handy. So I'm actually going to remove the network transform, remove the player manager, remove network rotation. We'll keep the collider for bullets, and we need the network identity. Save that if you already haven't, and we'll back out of here. Cool. Next thing. So we did the scriptable objects for the bullets. So if you go down to scriptable server objects here, we are going to say 2. And we are going to put in enemy AI. And if you go back to your server here, because we're spawning it as an AI base, it's going to be using this username. And this name is what it's going to use to spawn. So A_base. If you change that, you need to go grab that. Like I said, if you spawn inside here, if you spawn new chicken, new goblin, normally their username will probably say goblin or chicken. And that's how you determine between the two of them, right? Which is super handy. That's why you have the AI base, that they're all going to share movement and all that. But then you have their usernames and stuff are different, so the client knows which guy to spawn. Cool. And we're going to start this guy up, and we're going to see how much stuff is broken. We're going to hit join now, and as you see, we're moving around, and we have another guy with a character here. And this is going to be an enemy AI, and it has things that are not controlling, just like as if client 2 joined your game. It also has an ID and a collider. It's not going to be able to take bullet collision right now, so you'll see the bullet destroy, but the way we actually handle damage doesn't just work right off the bat, which is why I'm going to have another little part here for that. But this handles all the AI spawning, and if I actually go into, so I'm just going to stop the game here, go into the server, and in my on position here, I do .console.log AI update. Save that. You'll notice it's not going off right now because there's no rooms created, but if I join and come back, you'll see that AI updates consistently per frame, which is super handy. It means we can do, like I was saying, you can do the target calculation and all that, which should be handled in like our next part. So the next part I'm going to handle is the bullets from other people, so like our tank actually affecting the AI, having them respawn, that sort of stuff. And then we're going to handle having the AI move around and shoot and that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go into anything like A-star related. You guys can find those NPM packages itself. I use one for Tiny Dungeoneers for representing the map. I'm basically just going to be like, oh, top, bottom, left, right, like a big square. As long as you're inside there, it's basically free game. If you have different objects which the AI can't hit, then you'll need to look into that sort of stuff, like a map. And I have some good resources from TD that might help you. So if you need that sort of stuff, make sure you guys check out the Discord, that sort of stuff. And yeah, so that's the tutorial today. Next part, like I said, we're going to be handling the bullets, hitting the AI, having them destroy that sort of stuff, and damaging the AI and respawning and all that. And then we'll get into movement and that sort of stuff a little bit extra. So as always, thank you guys for checking out the video. Join the Discord, that sort of jazz. Give it a like, comment, subscribe. I need 1,000 subscribers, okay? So if you're new and you haven't subscribed, and you're this far in the series, like come on, you should be subscribing by now. So go give it a subscription. And yeah, as always, we'll see you guys later. Hey guys, I just wanted to make sure that I give a nice shout out to all my Patreons over on Patreon. They're going to be in the following list for you: Jaren Frost, The Buttholer, Jukra, Arthur Zhang, Pawn Theory, comrade. Hey everyone, if you guys liked the video, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, give it a like, and make sure to comment. It really helps out. And if you guys are looking to support the project further, I also have my Patreon, which will be linked in the description down below. Thank you, and have a good day.